Hello everyone out there. Welcome to another installment of Radio Free Decipher. This is Evan Lorenz coming to you from Norfolk without Kyle, who's at Wizard World this week. I am joined, however, by Tom from the design group. How are you?
Pretty good.
Yeah? How are things up in the TCG studio?
They're getting hectic, but, we're still having fun.
Yeah, that's good. Lots of busy news. As people may have seen on the website this week, we have announced the release date for Boon to Eve Pod Race for Young Jedi, and that is on September 5th. And I imagine you'll be seeing cards fairly soon from that. Of course, taste of it in Young Jedi Reflections, but there's plenty more to that set, so something to look forward to. I brought you on, Tom, to discuss once again kind of our every other week update of Lord of the Rings.
Sure, got to keep people updated on that.
Yeah. Where do things stand right now?
We're coming down to close of design and actually getting real close to the approvals section. The images have rolled in from New Line, and we're getting to ooh and ah over those as we plug them into the actual cards. Our New Line liaison is going to be coming out in a couple of weeks to do some approvals with us.
That's actually a good point because, as some people may remember, when Menace of Darth Maul first came out, all of the material from that set was pretty much production stills, things from trailers. There wasn't a lot of other footage going into that set. That's not going to be the case with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, we're really going for the primary, if not total, source of the images to be actually from the movie.
That's really outstanding. And of course, as the product's coming out before the movie, it will amount to a little bit of a sneak peek.
Yeah, a little bit of a sneak peek. It's the culmination of a whole lot of legwork from our CEO. He's really been excited to get the actual film footage for everybody. We've had the production pictures for a while, and they're great. Don't get me wrong. It's just we want to make sure that people are seeing what's up on the big screen.
Cool. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Now, we talked a little bit with Kyle last week about the big event at Gen Con. You were there as well. I wondered if you might have some thoughts to give about it. How did that go?
That was crazy.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun too. The line. It was cool to walk up and see the line going out the door down into the lobby. I'm sure Kyle related some of that because he had to handle a little bit of that craziness on the other end of it. But it was fun to see people streaming in and see the excitement that they carried with them. Everybody's really excited about this property. And
was there much Q&A?
Yeah, there was a fair amount. We probably took 10, 20 questions from the crowd.
What sorts of things were people wanting to know?
Oh boy, it was all over the place.
Maybe we can recount a little bit of it for people who couldn't be there.
There were some packaging questions. There were release schedule questions, but there was also plenty of content. Size of the set, general makeup of the set, of the premiere set, that is, how it relates to other games we've done and other games in the industry.
So most of that information we have given out before here on RFD.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, going back to where you said things stand right now, you said kind of tweaking and polishing or getting to that point.
Yeah, getting to that point. You know how it is. They have to generally rip the design out of our cold dead hands before we're willing to let it go out to approvals because we're constantly working things, but it's getting down to it. That cold dead hands thing's coming up pretty soon. Actually, I had to ask our project manager the other day. Friday's a major deadline for us, and Monday's a new deadline, and I had to beg and borrow to get the days on the weekend hooked up with the Friday part of it instead of the phase switch over on Monday. You
guys have actually put in time on every weekend for many weeks running, haven't you?
Yeah, it's been crazy for the past 2 months. Once the first images started rolling in and we really could focus down, it's been busy and constant for that whole time period.
Has there been any ways maybe recently that you think the game has changed that you maybe didn't see coming? Sort of things that you thought were central that suddenly was like, well, maybe not, and just little subtle changes or great changes?
It's been an interesting process. I thought the game would have a lot of core gamer appeal, and it turns out that instead, well, I don't want to say instead, a real strength of it is its accessibility. We did some demos at at a distributor show a few days ago, and there were a couple kids just watching over our shoulders, and some other sort of newbie game players, and they picked up on it right away. And the core people that were teaching it too were fired up. I mean, we chose them because we thought, okay, the core people, they'd be into it, and they'd get it the quickest of everybody in the room. But everybody seemed to get it, and the core people were, excited, and were asking about, well, is this in that? Is this going to be in it? And that in that? And it was nice to be able to say because I think we've hit all the things that people are really hoping for, and it's in the game system.
Yeah, so. Mostly, of course, core gamers are the people who will be listening to this broadcast right here. And for them, would it be fair to say that many of the tweaks that are being made right now are kind of with those people in mind? Yeah,
everything we're doing is really aimed at the core gamer right now. The past 3 or 4 weeks, actually, has been a real focus on the core gamer.
For those who maybe are not quite sure, we're speaking designer here maybe, what do you think are the qualities of a game that appeal to a core gamer?
There's a couple things. Real interesting deck building is important to the core gamer. They want their choices that they make before they even play to have a significant impact on how their game turns out. But they also want their runtime decisions during the game to be meaningful. They don't want a game where they show up and the deck just plays itself. And so we want to make sure that they have tons of decisions in the game that are meaningful, and basically you have to be able to walk out of the game and say, boy, if I'd only done that differently, I would have won, or I think I could have won, or boy, I'm glad I did that because that really turned the tide in the game. We want a handful, at least, of decisions throughout the course of the game that have that kind of meaning and are that important and really aren't that obvious. We don't want it just to be, well, yeah, of course I did that. So. Would
you say it's a difficult tightrope to walk to add that appeal and keep it simple, or are the two not always at odds with each other? Yeah, they're so at odds with each other.
I mean, they just pull in opposite directions, and the best mechanics are the ones that are easy to understand but have, a wealth of fun decisions behind them.
So how do you decide? Is it a committee thing?
Well, mainly the best way to do it, we found, is just to get a lot of both types of people in our testing groups, and that way you can just see how they react to the different mechanics, and that's the best way to really get a feel. I mean, we rely on our experience, but mostly we rely on our experience at 2 times, when we're laying out the initial mechanic and when we're digesting feedback that we get from the actual testing groups. That's when we use our experience to make decisions on whether or not we've hit the target. So.
Okay. How has working on Lord of the Rings been different compared to the other games that you've worked with? Now that you're in it a ways and maybe have an opinion developed of it.
No starships? No. It's been different. It's a new genre for us to work on, actually.
That's true.
The fantasy genre is something we haven't really done before. So it's been fresh and interesting from that point of view. Of course, my primary love in this whole, science fiction fantasy field has always been Lord of the Rings.
Right.
So
you're one of the people who goes back with it a ways then.
Yeah. I played the old MECCG, read the books when I was a little kid. So it's been part of my life for a long time, so it's been really neat.
This is a question I get asked about Star Trek a lot. I'll ask you the same. Does working on the Lord of the Rings game day in, day out lessen your enjoyment of it in any way?
Well, I don't know about that. Tolkien's writing is just so gorgeous that it's just fun when you're looking for a title for a card or looking for lore on a card to, just you get to open the book again and just look through it and find this, and invariably you find this gorgeous passage that just fits the bill of what you're looking for, and that's the discovery of how rich it is. It's deepened it in some ways. I mean, it's turned it into work in some other ways, but parts of it have still been really rewarding, that discovery process of just how much he put into every line that he threw in the book. So,
good answer. I think it's better than any of the ones I've given. Any other tidbits that maybe we can hand out that we haven't yet? We talked a little bit more about gameplay, I think, at Gen Con than we ever had before.
Yeah, we have. We did it. You know, we let them sort of ask whatever they wanted in the Q&A, and some different things came out. But I'm sort of drawing a blank here.
Okay. Was the Twilight pool discussed in any detail?
Yeah, so in a fair amount of depth. I guess we can give a little bit of description of that.
Maybe just a little more than we have before.
I'll just start from scratch because I don't know how much you guys have talked about in the weeks I wasn't here.
Sure.
Basically, it's a mechanic whereby the Free People's Fellowship, whatever, the good guys, play their cards to the table, and every time they play a card or a resource or whatnot, it's generally going to have a cost, and it adds to this thing we call the Twilight pool. And when they move their characters, depending on how many people are in the company at the time, it adds more to the Twilight pool.
Okay.
And where they go, depending on how dangerous it is, it could add even more to the Twilight pool. And then basically the forces of the shadow take over, and the costs on their card are spent out of the Twilight pool. So the more risk the good guys accumulate, the more danger, the more minions and spells and all that kind of bad stuff they're going to face.
Okay, so every turn as a good guy player, you are kind of giving the rope that might be used to hang yourself.
Sure, but you don't really have a choice. I mean, you have to protect yourself. But the question is, how do you go about it?
Do you really play everything in your hand, or
right.
Is there maybe something you can hold off on?
Exactly, and I think this is what's nice for the core gamers, is the more that they play, the more they learn that there are some thresholds that you just don't want to cross, or you're really going to pay for it.
Okay.
So.
And that sounds very different from any of our other games, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's a major new thing that we've added. So.
Anything else, maybe an aspect of the game that you're particularly happy with the way it's turning out?
Well, I'm pretty happy in general. Yeah. Well, at this point, it's hard for me to step back and say this is great and this is something that needs work, because we're so up to our eyes in it right now, working on everything, trying to polish everything up. So. Okay.
Well, I'd best let you go meet that Monday morning deadline.
There you go.
Okay. So I will say goodbye to you, Tom, and thanks to everyone out there for listening. We'll be back next week with another installment. Have a good weekend.